Hello and welcome. My name is Johnna. I am a coach and I work with individuals who have been conditioned by society that their body should look a certain way, and I help them say F all that, figure out who the fuck they are and how to love that person. So what this is, if you're new, which I think you gotta be because this was like the fourth one, this is Makeup and Mental Health Mondays. Every Monday I do my makeup and I talk about a different component of mental health. So the conversation is always continued in the comments, so please do share and comment anything that you feel so inclined to do. And know that the products that I use will also be listed in the description down below. What we're going to be talking about today, I've got notes, so if you see me like looking down, we're going to talk about self-discovery. So super excited to be talking about this topic. And yeah, so without further ado, here we go. Let's get into it. I like to start by talking about why I'm talking about this topic, whatever it is, and then what I mean when I say this topic, what my interpretation of it is, that I'm bringing to you, and then why it's important, and what are some things that we can do, that you can do, some tools and techniques to bring more of that into your life, meaning whatever the topic is, how you can go about navigating it. Rather, people not how you can bring more of it into your life, but rather how you can go about managing it, navigating it. So for this topic in particular, why are we talking about self-discovery? And the reason I want to talk about it is because you hear everyone saying just do you, and that's a big buzzword, or a big buzz phrase, I guess. Is that a word? Buzz phrase. And that's great. I think that, everyone should, do themselves and, what fills them up, within reason, as long as you aren't, microwaving kittens or anything like that. And if you are, then, seek help. But, doing things that help you feel that you are, living your life and, being your most authentic self. That's what I'm talking about when I say self-discovery. And, it's something that no one really teaches us as, an adolescent. There's no class on, how do I, learn who I am. They don't teach it like they do home ec or something. And so we're left to our own devices, to figure out, who we are and, how we identify as people, which is cool, open to interpretation there, but at the same time, we don't really know what we're doing, right? So a lot of times, so we just follow the crowd, and so I think that if we don't have kind of a roadmap, then we aren't really set up to create this solid foundation of who we are and where we're going. So that's why I wanted to bring this to everyone today, to just talk about it, because like I said, it's not something that's taught. It's something that is important, and we're going to talk about why it's important. That's next on the agenda. But there's no how to when it comes to figuring this shit out. So when we're going to do that, what is self-discovery? Why is it important? And what are some tools that we can navigate it? Self-discovery is a process, right? It's something that is ever evolving, and it's not something that's ever going to be done. It's not something that's going to be oh, well, I learned this, so, I'm complete. It's not oh, I, got married, so check, I know who I am, or, oh, I got this job, or, oh, I had a kid. Things change. Life is fluid. Life is a journey. And so it's a matter of taking what it is and what's true in the moment and being able to adapt to that. and changing, and like that's, you know, the beauty of it. Like that's growth, right? So that's like a little disclaimer. Like it's not ever something that you're going to be like done with. Like, oh, I figured it out now. Like that whole part, it's over. I just get to like kick back and drink cocktails and enjoy my life. It's something that you're going to be learning about as long as you're here. So, with that being said, it's knowing that what you like are, like who you are, rather, what you stand for, how you feel in certain situations, and where you stand on certain issues. And it's knowing when to speak to those issues and when to just kind of like let it go, because sometimes it ain't worth it. And you know, knowing when you'll be okay like not saying things, because there's sometimes when, you know, you might be going into a situation where you got some stuff to say and it's not going to be well received, and you know that, but you need to say it anyway, because that's just who you are as a person. That's just, you know, the kind of person that you are, like someone that stands up for like what you believe in, and like know what those things are. And the way that I like to look at knowing yourself, it's like how you would know a friend, right? Like we take time, like we go get coffee with our friends, like we listen to them, like their fears and like their successes, and we really get to know that person, and we know like what's true for them. And that's something that we don't often do for ourselves. We don't spend a lot of time with ourselves, right? But we know everything about our friends. And in those terms, I think that it's important that we take the time to spend with ourselves so that we can get to know ourselves like a friend. We sit with ourselves, like with the uncomfortableness, and like, yeah, we oftentimes talk it out with a friend, but like there's a difference between like talking it out with a friend and like, you know, spending time alone, like journaling, or like even talking it out with yourself. Like I'm a big supporter of doing like voice notes, where like if you got some shit going on, then like voice note it out to yourself, you know? Like you don't have to let anyone hear it, just know that you have it. Like sometimes like the sound of your own voice can be really empowering in that way. And so yeah, like getting to know yourself like from an objective point of view, like you would a friend. Like that's important. You're the person that spends the most amount of time with you, and so you're going to be best equipped if you know like who you are. So that's that. And that also like brings us to the point of like, so why is it so important that we know who we are? You know, like who gives a shit, right? At the end of the day, if you know yourself or not. And it's because if you don't know who you are, then you're going to always be in a situation where you're just going with the flow, right? You're basically going to be someone's tails. Remember Sonic the Hedgehog? Sonic and Tails. Tails just kind of follows Sonic around. Well, you don't want to be a Tails like for all your life, right? I mean, you could if you want to be, but you know, there's some truth behind when you don't know what truly like lights you up. Then how are you supposed to really experience like joy in this life? And like that's a big part of it, because there's a difference between, oh, like my friend likes to do this and like I do too kind of thing, right? Like I'm talking about that, like do what you like to do. Like that's how we bond as like humans, you know, like we share experiences. That's not what I mean. What I mean is if you are just always doing what they want to do, then before you know it, you're going to be like old AF. You're looking around like, yeah, well, like I guess this is fine. Like I guess this life's okay. Like whatever. And it'll be one of those things where your life will have passed and you just kind of feel like it's Groundhog's Day every day, right? Like you're doing it. It's what you've always done. Like might as well do it again kind of thing. But at the same time, it's not really fulfilling, right? Like, it's not something that you're like, yeah, like, I want to do this. Like, this is my shit. This is my jam. It's just something where you're like, yeah, well, like, I guess we'll do this again. Like, that's fine. And another disclaimer, I'm not talking about when you know, go through phases, like you experience something in life that like gets you down and you're just kind of like, oh, well, like whatever, like what the fuck, like going through the motions there. That happens. Like, we all have bad experiences and bad days and, you know, phases. But I'm talking about, like, if the majority of time you're just like, bleh, like ho-hum, humdrum, moving through, floundering around, that's when you don't know who you are. That's when you don't know yourself. And I know this because that was me for years. So many years. There were so many years that I was just like, yeah, this is fine. Like, yeah, like let's go out to the club. Like, let's, you know, do this stuff that I don't really care about. Like, let's go party. Like, let's go drinks and bar crawls and shots and blah, because that's what, you know, society, like, you know, made look cool. That's what people were doing in music videos. Like, that's what I thought I was supposed to be doing because, you know, like, why not? Like, everyone else was doing it, you know? That's what I thought that, you know, would, like, make me happy. That's what I just thought life was because I didn't take the time to get to know myself, to know anything different. So I was like, yeah, this is fine. This is good. Like, whatever. Whatevs. And it wasn't until I took a pause one day and was like, you know what? I don't really like doing this shit. I don't really like going out to clubs until like 5 in the morning and getting drinks spilled on me and like wearing like heels that make my feet hurt. I'm pretty sure I've like effed up my toes, but that's like a whole nother situation. But yeah, it wasn't until I, you know, took a step back and was like, wait a minute. I don't think I even like this shit. And so I was going through the motions. I didn't really realize, you know, what I was doing. And another disclaimer, I know that we all have like existential crises from time to time where we're like, oh, like, what's this life for? Also, not what I'm talking about here. That happens. I get it. If you need help, then do seek it. And I will put some links in the description below if that's something that you're struggling with and you are at a place where you feel, you know, just lost and like helpless and hopeless for like a long duration of time. Definitely do get professional help in that sense. It happens. Like, we've all, you know, or most of us, a lot of us have been there. So don't feel like you're alone or like it's anything you need to be shameful of. Just know that, you know, this too shall pass. It's like something that I like to try to remind myself of. And like clients and, you know, friends whenever they're going through like certain things. That's not what I'm talking about when it comes to like knowing yourself. Like that is another situation. When it comes to knowing yourself, I'm simply talking about, like, yeah, we get like fed up, we go through these phases, ebbs and flows, you know, such as life. But I'm talking about like, if you don't have this sense of like purpose and direction, then that's when you need self-discovery. If you hear breathing, does my little dog. And that's when you need to take some time to like discover who you are and like what's important to you. That's what I'm talking about here when it comes to self-discovery. So just want to make sure that I make that clear. I'm not saying like this will solve all your problems. I'm not saying that this is the end-all be-all, but I'm saying that a lot of people just don't know who they are because they've never taken time to actually like pause and consider like what that person looks like and what we truly want to do. So with that being said, I might finish the video before my makeup is done. So we might do one of those situations again. I'm working on my timing. We might do one of those situations again where I'm like, pause, and then I just come back and talk to you like at the end because yeah, I don't have too much more left with the makeup department. Actually, we're almost done with it. And it sucks when I lose my brush because then I'm just like, pause. Not to consider anything important, but just so that I can go and look like a brush. Anyway, yeah. So, as I was saying, when it comes to actually taking initiative and considering like, okay, so I feel like this is me, like who I've described, you know, like I feel like I am just like floundering, and it has been for years, and like, no, like, you know, and I don't need like, you know, like I don't necessarily need like a counselor or a therapist, but I do need something, right? Like I feel like I need a sense of like purpose or some sense of direction and meaning, like on a consistent basis. Then how do we start to discover like who we are? Like how do we start to realize like what we stand for and like what our convictions are? Like, like how do we do it? Like where's that class? Where do I sign up? Well, now actually there are a lot of virtual courses and books and different things that you can do. You can even like probably do a Google search that will tell you like some insights for self-discovery. Look, I'm doing my brows on with the video, so you get to see it this time. Yeah, so there are tons of like books and things, but I'm going to share one thing specifically just to get you started, because I'm a big fan of like, you know, doing the basics like really well. Like let's focus on one thing, build that foundation before we start to like do a million things, like quantity or quality over quantity kind of situation. So there's actually two techniques, but one of them will require like a little bit more explanation for me to feel like I really set you up well with how to actually try that on. So if you want to know about that one, like I'm happy to share it with you, like I would love to. Just let me know, because it's going to take a little bit of explaining. It's simple, it's super powerful, and what it does is it helps you really get clear on your values and like what's important to you, and you know where you might want to spend a little bit more time like focusing as you're getting started and making like these life changes to like be who you are and bring more of that into your life. So just let me know. Happy to do that. Aside from that, the other thing that I want to mention, and this is the one that I was like quality over quantity. Let me, you know what? Let me do my liner. I'm just gonna do my liner. Be right back. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I did the thing again. But all I did was liner. I put on some highlighter, mascara, and the lips, because you don't want to watch that. I mean, maybe you do. But yeah, like I said, I think it would just be me going, while I'm trying to do that. So, anyway, we're back. Hi. Thank you for staying tuned. And, the closing thing that I wanted to say is what that one technique is that, is really impactful when it comes to finding out like who you are and realizing when you are your most authentic self. So it's super simple. It's just going to require you being observant, and you can take notes in either your phone, you can voice memo them, but I like being able to visually see them. So I think like either a note on your phone, or if you want to have like a journal, if you like to write things down, even like a page in your planner. But you are going to, or the activity is, if you are so willing to choose to accept it, it's simply noticing when you are your most authentic self and when you are more of your pseudo self. And what I mean by that is we all have different hats that we wear, right? So there's like the work hat, there's like the daughter hat, let's say for me. There are certain there are certain like personas that we subscribe to when we are around certain people and in certain environments, and some of them are more authentic to who we actually are. We feel more like a solid person, like more like our true self, versus more of like our pseudo self. And so an example of that for me, I used to work retail, and I would be very present to the fact that the things that I would say and the way that I would say them, my mannerisms, my tone, my diction, it was very much more customer servicey, if you will. Still me, still like real, but instead of just saying something like I'm a very direct person, I have a lot of Aries energy, instead of just saying like matter of factly, which is how I show up in most situations when I'm being my most authentic self, I would try to put like, I would consciously try to put like a positive spin or tone or connotation or whatever to it. And while yes, it's still me, it wasn't my most authentic self in the sense that there was some sort of a facade there. So that's what I mean. I know another place could be like the family. I personally am a different person like around my family. I won't say certain things. I will say them in a different way. And so I'm being more of my pseudo self than when I'm with my friends, than when I'm with strangers even. I'm very authentic in that sense. Like me right here, right now, is me being authentic. And just being mindful of where you are when you are your most authentic self and when you're your most pseudo self or more pseudo selves, and like who you're with, what the circumstances are, and what the feeling is. I'm really big on, feeling into things. And so how does it feel when you're your most authentic self versus when you are your pseudo self? So just be mindful of those things. So the next time that you are in an interaction with anyone, I want you to become aware of how you are showing up. How do you feel? Do you feel like you can be yourself with them? Do you feel like you can say anything and be accepted unconditionally? Do you feel like you have to like hold back or be more reserved or watch your tone or whatever the case may be? And how does that feel? How does it feel to be your most authentic self? How does it feel to hold back? And making note of that. And the reason that we are doing this is because that will help you see objectively, because you're going to have it written down. It's not just going to be, a thought in your head. You're going to be able to see like, hey, like this is what's currently true for me. I feel more comfortable around this person, and that's a very freeing feeling when I feel that I can be my most authentic self and say whatever I want and just show up as is, versus when I'm in this other situation that feels more restrictive, and it doesn't feel as organic or whatever the case may be, like whatever your words are. And so that is your activity, your action item, your takeaway, to really start to lean into like who you are and self-discovery, and invite more of those experiences where you can be more of your most authentic self. Because the more you are who you truly are, then the more you're going to find like-minded individuals, and the more that you are going to be supported to grow and to be in flow more often, which that's like what they call it, right? Like a state of flow. Whenever you are in this position where things just feel good, you're being you, and you're doing what you love. That's what, people consider the state of flow. And so in order to embody that, it's really important to know what's true for you, and that requires knowing where you are your most authentic self and where you feel comfortable being that person. So that is what I have for you for this week. I do hope that it was helpful. Please let me know any feedback, comments that you may have in the comments below if you are so inclined to share. If not, that's cool. I understand. Thank you for staying with me till the end and watching, and for continuing to come back and watch these. I do appreciate it. Next week, I'm going to be talking about how to love that person that we are discovering, our most authentic selves. Because it's more than just bath bombs and buying the expensive shoes and treating yourself and like eating the cake or pizza or whatever. It's also loving those dark parts of ourselves that we might not be so proud of or might not be so excited to share, because guess what? It's part of you too, baby. and it all makes you who you are, and that person is beautiful. And it's important that we know who that person is, and that we accept all parts, because it makes us us, and that makes you. So that is what I have for you for this week. That is a little sneak peek as to what we will be talking about next week. And I thank you for being here once again, and I hope that you have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time.